Mr. Chairman, sir, professors and other scholars, distinguished guests, the Mathematics World of Excellence group, my colleagues, students, and all other great people present virtually and physically, good afternoon. Today, being the 14th of March, is a great day for the mathematics community and indeed the general public, as it is the International Day of Mathematics each year as adopted by UNESCO since 2019, a day that has been set aside to highlight the key role of mathematics globally. For me, and indeed all mathematicians in our universities and other higher institutions that find themselves saddled with the task of teaching mathematical analysis and who are passionate about it, the day has been made even greater by slating the launch of this excellent book on it. This is so because we have got one more textbook on analysis written by an indigenous professor. So it is doubly a great day and we thank God for it. My task this afternoon, according to the program of events sent to me, is book presentation and to say a few words about the author. And this is what I set out to do. We thank God for the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka. We thank God for the Department of Mathematics, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka. We thank God for raising in our midst, even though now late, Professor C.E. Chidume. For these are the entities that midwifed the mathematical birth of this fine, consummate, and overly rigorous mathematician in person of Professor Eric Ofoedu. A professor that is a researcher at an epic level in the area of nonlinear operator theory and an excellent teacher of analysis. I do not know if any objectives can do justice to describing what a fantastic teacher Professor Ofoedu is to a person who has never been in Ofoedu's class. I was first in his class in the year 2007 or so, first as a student in a workshop organized by ICTP in conjunction with the EBSU, Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki, at the instance of late Professor Chidume. Ofoedu was then waiting to defend his PhD and I was on my MSc at BUK. After that, we both taught mathematics and mathematical analysis to university lecturers in a refresher course on analysis organized by the NUC in conjunction with the National Mathematical Center, directed by Chidume. I then served as his teaching assistant at the AUST, African University of Science and Technology, Abuja, where he taught mathematical analysis to MSc students. I was doing my PhD then in the university. After that, we taught courses in the NMC a number of times together, the most recent of which was in December last year. So I've really been in a number of his classes and I know what I have seen. The phenomenal quality of his teaching perhaps stemmed from his soft-spokenness, rigor, and patience. He had the patience and the deep grasp of mathematical concepts that he delivers the most abstruse concepts of analysis to students in a manner that makes the students to understand, feel, and enjoy them. In the area of research, Professor Ofoedu's output is top-notch. It's not just about quantity. You read his works and it's clear that this is not just a mundane article writing, but mathematics being communicated. I recall a time during my PhD time at AUST when Professor Chidume printed out a review report written by Ofoedu, who was one of the reviewers and Chidume was the editor. Chidume was vividly marveled at the way the report was written, both the argument and style of writing the report in dismantling some problematic elements of the manuscript was simply awesome. Another overtly glaring testimony to Ofoedu's standing in analysis is the level of his students. I remember a time when a former student of Ofoedu's, Dr. Lois Okereke, called the attention of some colleague of hers who committed a subtle error which was lost even on PhD students present then. She was then an MSc student. The subtlety of the error and the fact that she was able to see the error tells you similar thing to what Johann Bernoulli said after reading the anonymous solution of the Brachistochrone problem by Isaac Newton. I quote, "Ah, you can tell a lion by its paw." So in other words, by their products, you can know their level. I am of the firmest belief that Professor Ofoedu is not only qualified to write a book on mathematical analysis, but he is one of the most qualified persons to do so in all respects. This causes my excitement at having this additional title in mathematical analysis. Now, the book which we are launching today, entitled Mathematical Analysis, An Introduction, after having read it, I did not get disappointed in what I expected it to be. One important feature of the book, a feature which I believe will go a long way towards making the book a success, is its conversational style. It carries the reader along in a very reassuring and relaxed way. This is especially important as learning/teaching analysis at the grassroots level tends to be a daunting task and one which is a tall order. At this critical stage, it is make or break for the student. It makes the difference of whether a student will recognize the beauty of analysis, embrace it, enjoy it, and apply it, or they will dislike it and just try to get by for the sake of exam. The latter situation represents a catastrophe for the student in maths or maths-related areas, since there is hardly anything you can do at a correct level without a sizable understanding of analysis. Of course, there are several textbooks on analysis, prominent among which are Principles of Mathematical Analysis by Walter Rudin, Methods of Real Analysis by Richard Goldberg, An Introduction to Analysis by William Wade, Introduction to Real Analysis by Bartle and Shabbat, and other books treat real analysis in the preliminary chapters such as Calculus by Apostle, Foundations of Modern Analysis by Dodone. However, there are very few written by indigenous authors. The ones that I know and which I think are prominent within our country are the ones written by Professor Chidume, Foundations of Mathematical Analysis, Chidume and his son, Introduction to Real Analysis by Professor Adegoke Olubumo, and another real analysis textbook written by Professor Sunday Nyahe. Perhaps there are others, but these I think are the most prominent ones. Now, a psychological phenomenon that I believe we are familiar with about reading such mathematics texts is that you tend to feel the content of the book and understand them when it's written by an author sharing similar characteristics as you. Example, when you read when you read a book written by an author from your country, or somebody who bears similar names as yours, you tend to feel that you can understand the content of that text. And therefore, it is commendable and it needs to be supported that a book on analysis authored by our own Professor Eric Ofoedu. Now, the book comprises 10 chapters and only 162 pages, each page of area about 17.5 centimeters by 24 centimeters. So it is a very portable book, which does not have the scary fat look derided by students. It's punctuated by a total of 170 stimulating exercises across the chapters. Chapter 1 gives a very friendly introduction to numbers along with the algebraic and order properties. The absolute value function is also contained in the chapter. One pedagogical feature of the chapter is that in addition to the conversational style, not a single mention of the phrase real number or its symbol is used, just numbers, an approach that makes a newly introduced student to relax and feel at home. The chapter contains a total of 15 exercises. Chapter 2 deals more deeply with number system. It also deals with the principle of mathematical induction in both strong and weak forms. The chapter has 7 exercises. In chapter 3, we have contents that are at the core of understanding modern mathematics. It dwells on sets, relations, logic, and functions. The author really tried to bring out the aspects that students often find naughty and explain given so many examples. The style of writing a universal quantifier before its scope, as opposed to the other way around in the chapter and following chapters, helps a great deal, especially in negating statements. And we know what one of the things that students find tricky is negating logical statements. And the presentation of the chapter really makes it easy for students to be able to negate such logical statements. Extensions and restrictions of functions have also been covered in the chapter. The presentation got a little deeper by positing that a set does not really have a definition. It should be treated as a primitive. Paradoxes have also been touched upon in the chapter, and the important concept of countability is discussed at the end of the chapter. The chapter contains a total of 30 exercises. Chapter 4 contains the arguably most important notions in the foundation of mathematical analysis, the supremum and infimum. It touches completeness axiom, the incompleteness of the set of rational numbers. The concepts were thoroughly treated with mastery and pedagogical skills. The chief properties of sup and inf are all well explained. The Archimedean property and density of rationals and irrationals, all stated and proved in the chapter. The chapter has a total of 13 exercises. Chapters 5 and 6 discuss sequences of real numbers in detail. The chapters give complete treatment of sequences from definition of convergence and divergence. The chapters go on to give salient properties, monotone sequences, subsequences, limit superior and limit inferior, and Cauchy sequences and properties. Principle of nested interval has also been given in detail. Neither was Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem left out in the chapter. An elegant and a non-traditional proof of the Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem was presented in the chapter. One aspect I found beautiful is the manner subsequences are introduced. It is done in a manner that is very likely to entrench deep grasp of the idea to students. The chapters have a total of 30 exercises, 14 in chapter 5 and 16 in chapter 6. In chapter 7, series have been discussed, series of real numbers. The chapter gives all the details of managing series. The notion of domination of one series by another adds a flavor to the presentation in the chapter. Conditional and absolute convergence along with properties are completely treated. All the important tests for convergence, absolute convergence have been given, making use of the notion of domination frequently in the proof. Alternating series, rearrangement of series, and series whose terms are non-increasing have all been adequately treated in the chapter. The chapter have a whopping sum of 40 interesting exercises. Chapters 8 and 9 concern continuity of real valued functions of a real variable. The chapters start with definitions and then gave all the main properties and consequences of continuity. The use of the principle of nested interval property in the proofs of many theorems give the book an additional flair. Existence and continuity of inverse functions conclude the chapters. Very interesting exercises that test the reader's understanding of concepts. Each of the two chapters are given in each of the two chapters. A total of 24, each having 12 exercises. In the last chapter, Chapter 10, Uniform Continuity and its properties and consequences are given in details. The chapter was adorned with stimulating exercises, about 10 of them. Finally, I wish to end with a very big thank you to Professor Ofoedu for taking the time to put the book together. I also wish to thank the Mathematics World of Excellence family, the organizers, for inviting me to take part in this all-important exercise. May the activities of this group continue to record success upon success. Dalu very much.